Hello, everyone. So, there's a channel, Pinball Preparedness, out of Tennessee, and he just posted a video this morning, just kind of provoking people to start considering the concept of homelessness. And it reminded me of the video I did earlier this year. I don't remember exactly when, but it was months ago, earlier this year, 2022. And it also reminded me of the spontaneous rhema that the Lord gave me, which I just reshared on the community page. The transcript is in the description box and it overflows into the comments if you're interested in that. But the title of it was "The Light Will Be Left On for You," I think. And that's very similar to the Motel 6 motto, logo. "We'll leave the light on for you." So the Lord was kind of making a play on that. And in that word, the Lord also prophesied through me that diesel and gasoline would run out. And that was back in July, for all of those who want to call me a false prophet. Anyway, let's just open in prayer real quick. Father God, Yahweh, Holy Spirit, Yeshua the Christ of Nazareth, I just invite your presence, Lord. Once again, I plead the blood of Yeshua the Christ of Nazareth over my entire domain. And I just ask, Lord, for your presence, Lord. This is your ministry. I'm here to edify your people, Lord. I just ask, Lord, will you please bring to the forefront of my remembrance anything and everything that is useful, Lord. Any little tips, counsel, advice, Lord, that I can give that will be edifying and useful to prepare your people, Lord, if they are to become homeless. I ask for this in the name of Yeshua the Christ of Nazareth. Amen. Now, this is a Christian channel in case I have any new people that see this. And I have not, praise the Lord, hallelujah, I have not ever experienced homelessness at its worst in the sense of living in my car or living on the street or living in a tent city or anything like that. This video is... first of all, it may overlap quite a bit with the first one I did earlier this year. I think it's like 40 some minutes. I could go re-listen to that first, but I don't really feel like it. So if I overlap, I overlap. But I think I've gained some more insight since then. But this is going to be more so for those who transition from having a home, whether it's a house, an apartment, whatever, or even renting a room somewhere in a house or an apartment, to, okay, now you find yourself going to like a hotel or a motel, okay? That's what this is for. It's for that transition, and hopefully, hopefully you don't ever get to the point of having to live out of your car or on the street or in a tent or anything. I want to remind everybody, first of all, that if you are truly abiding in Christ, if you have made him Lord and you keep him Lord of your life in all areas of your life, you are living in obedience, repentance, submitting to him. If you have been and are pursuing restoration, which includes heart healing, deliverance, integration, if you are truly abiding in Christ and you are truly a part of the ecclesia, the 144,000, which is the Church of Smyrna, the Martyrs, and Philadelphia, the Officers, which includes the subcategory of the two witnesses, then I just want to remind you that it says in Malachi that we will be like fat, stall-fed calves. The Lord actually told me to put that as my handle on YouTube, which is going to be rolling out, I guess, this month sometime. And if I ever get to the point of creating another channel, that's what the Lord told me to call it, is stall-fed calves. The Lord promises us in Psalms that we will experience the goodness of the Lord here in the land of the living. And there's other passages regarding just, his promise to keep us, provide for us, and ultimately he is our only provision. He is our only protection. And we are in the tribulation. And you have to trust in him. So I'm just going to start off with just that spiritual reminder and exhortation that you must trust him. Your faith will be tested and tried. And many, many people are going to find themselves homeless. The Lord had me prophesy that back in July, that many people would be finding themselves transitioning into motels. So this is going to be in no particular order. Let's start off with this right now. So right now, I just heard the housekeeping person rolling their little cart outside my door, and you never know when they're going to knock on the door and interrupt, like they did yesterday when I was in the middle of recording a video 5 minutes in. Hopefully they leave me alone today. So that's one of the things, is privacy. That is one of the things that you're going to have to adjust to, is that you may not have the privacy that you are accustomed to. Now, depending on where you're staying, what you can afford, you may or may not have a do not disturb sign available to put on your door living in a motel or hotel. The cheaper places don't seem to have that, especially if you're going to go with the franchise of Motel 6 or Studio 6, okay? Again, I'm just going to ramble, just stuff, okay? So this is in no particular order. Now, for those of you who have pets, your best bet is going to be the franchise of Motel/Studio 6. Apparently Motel 6 as opposed to Studio 6. Now, that franchise built its name. I'm pretty sure that they were the first pet-friendly motel chain, because and they did not charge pet fees. That's what they're supposed to be known for. Okay. Now, for example, where I'm staying right now, I'm in a Studio 6, and all that really means is that instead of having like a little mini fridge, I've got like a smaller full-size fridge and a tiny little supposed kitchen sink, a toaster, and that's really the only difference, honestly, okay? Now, tip number one, it's cheaper to book online. However, with Motel 6, some of them, not all of them, will offer what's called a construction rate. A construction rate, so it's cheaper if you book in an increment of 7 nights for a week, okay? You get like a discount for that. So it's good to just create your own account with the Motel 6 website. And it's cheaper to book online always across the board, period, no matter where you're going in terms of motels and hotels. And trust me, like it's way cheaper, okay? But then, like I said, Motel 6, some of them will have what's called a construction rate. And that's for usually construction workers. But that can be even cheaper than the online rate. And so you always want to ask that first before you even tell them who you are, that you have a reservation. You want to ask that first is, do you offer a construction rate for 7 nights for 1 week? And if they say yes, then you tell them, okay, well, I made a reservation online, but I would like you to cancel that and give me the construction rate, okay? So for example, like right now, I'm in a Studio 6. I booked this online through the website, through my account, and it's, we really are living in, have you ever seen the movie Idiocracy? Like we really are living in that right now. So on the website for this particular place, you could tell that someone who isn't well educated and doesn't know what they're doing, isn't really competent, wrote this little blurb in the, whatever you want to call it, the policy or whatever. And in one sentence, in the same sentence, it said, oh, a $10 pet fee will be charged per night. And then somehow in the middle of the sentence, it like transitioned into saying, but pets stay for free. In the same sentence, okay? Talk about confusion and contradicting and all that. Then when I get here, on the counter, there's a sign that says some different amount of number for the pet fee. And that if you don't report your pet, that they'll charge you $100 or whatever. Then the housekeeper tells me that it's like $50. So like, no consistency whatsoever. Now, if you have a cat, like I do, they're easier to hide than a dog, obviously, because a dog you have to take outside to go to potty, and dogs bark and all that. If you have a cat, you can hide that a lot easier. Take the collars off of your pets so that they're not jingling with their tags or their bells or whatever, if you're trying to hide your pet, okay? And most places, depending, again, where you stay, you can take the shades and you can push them up into the window. And make sure you do this, because almost a year ago, last December, I did not do that. And I was dozing off, and at like 9, 10 o'clock at night, after I had just dozed off, I get a knock on my door. So apparently because I didn't push the shades into the window, up against the window, my cat went in between the window itself and the shades, and there was some guy walking around just looking at people's windows looking for pets. So at like 10 o'clock at night, I get a knock on my door saying, your cat has to go, or you have to go. And so for that week reservation, I had to put my cat in my car, and it was like freezing cold that week. And so I had to keep going out there every like 3 hours to turn the heat on in the car and rub her and warm her up and everything. It was horrible, okay? So make sure you always push the shades, the blinds up into the window if you're trying to hide your pet. And it does help retain heat and all that, because these places don't retain heat all that well. Often there's cracks around the door and everything, and that's where heat can escape and where bugs can crawl in, okay? Yeah, let's talk about bugs. So the most two common bugs you're gonna find in motels and hotels is bed bugs and roaches. More so common is the roaches. The extended stay places. Okay, so let's talk about that. So even cheaper than a Motel 6 or something along those lines will be an extended stay. However, pretty much all the extended stays that I've come across don't even allow pets, period. Or if they do, they'll charge a pet fee. Okay, but I can tell you, in-town suites does not allow pets. That's where I got caught that time. And here's the thing too, with in-town suites, depending on where you're at and whether they're short on staff or not, they have what they call a housekeeping day, or even twice a week. And so you have to find out what day your housekeeping days or days are, and if you're trying to hide a pet, you're gonna have to get up early, sneak your pet out, and do whatever all day long. Either put your pet somewhere or just stay out with your pet or whatever until after housekeeping clocks out for the day, and then sneak them back in, okay? Yeah, so much fun. Single ladies. Let me just share an example with you that I just went through here at this place. So I checked in here a few days ago. And so what I normally do is, I'll park somewhere near like the front office, go in, check in, get everything straightened out, then I'll go park by my room. And most of these places, the door goes straight to the outside. Now some of these places it's inside, and that's gonna be more difficult if you're trying to hide a pet or something, okay? So anyway, I'm in the front lobby, and this man walks in behind me. And check in, whatever. I drive down to my room and I'm starting to unload my car, but I'm being very aware of who's around and who can see what, because I have to sneak my cat in, which sneaking her in isn't so bad because I have a soft carrier and it kind of looks like a regular like little gym bag kind of thing. It's more so her litter box that's more conspicuous, you know. And so I'm just like, you know, trying to unload my car. I'm trying to do it quickly. I'm trying to do it when no one's around. And this same guy who walked into the lobby after me comes walking down and he's like, "Excuse me, ma'am, what's your name?" I said, "Why are you asking?" And then just all this stupid nonsense came out of his mouth. And you know, if I had a man with me, I highly doubt that guy would have bothered me. But because he sees a single woman, he comes over and he's trying to talk to me. And I don't think he was necessarily trying to pick me up, so to speak. But he was just one of those trolls that just wanders around trying to engage people. But he was a mouthpiece for the enemy. Because I tried to be polite with him and I tried to just kind of agree with him to kind of like get him to leave me alone. And so he kept like saying things like, "Oh, you've been through a lot, haven't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm really cautious, so I'm really not, you know, trying to talk to people. I'm just trying to keep to myself, you know, whatever." And instead of just taking the signal to leave me alone, he then kept the conversation going, of course. And, "Oh, so you're guarded. Oh, well, you need to do some reflecting because, you know, a lot of the stuff that you've gone through, you've let yourself go through." Just a total mouthpiece for the enemy, trying to plant seeds of self-loathing and regret and whatever. And so finally, I just got a little fierce with him and I said, "Look," because he began kind of going in that direction of like New Age and whatever. I said, "Look, I'm an apostle of the Lord Jesus Christ. I know all about healing. I don't need you to tell me about healing. Thank you, but no thank you." And he was like, "Oh, okay." So just be prepared, single ladies especially, for that kind of nonsense, okay? You have to have your guard up, and I'm learning more and more, like, don't even try to engage these people. Just get right to it of just saying, "Look, I'm not interested in talking. Like, I'm an introvert. I'm keeping to myself. Not interested." And that may seem harsh, but this is what you got to do to just take care of yourself. Because otherwise, the devil will send people to just plant stuff in your heart, in your head. I mean, like, just think about that. Like, what he said, you know, just so that's just kind of a street smarts kind of thing. All right, back to motels, hotel. Okay, before you even get to the point of the motel or hotel, let's go backwards. I'm probably recovering what I've said in the previous video. But so when it kind of dawns on you that, okay, I'm about to become homeless, like you're still in your home, but you know that you're about to whatever, leave, vacate, hopefully not be evicted. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But so if you have the money, of course, you're going to try to put your stuff in storage. So here's some tips on what to keep and take with you and what to put away. And let me also, before we even get to that, let me just remind everyone and exhort everyone, as I have been since 2020, you need to be getting rid of your mammon, okay? Mammon is anything you really don't need for survival, okay? Your makeup, your artwork, your knickknacks and decor. And this is where you really need to be in conversation with the Lord about, okay, what is his plan for you, okay? Like God was making it clear to me in 2020 that I may not be working much longer, you know, or working again, you know, and that was something that I had to keep confirming with him. But like all the heels, like all that fancy stuff, the high heels for the men, you know, like your video game consoles, whatever, stuff that you really don't need, get rid of it. If you can, sell it. Always, you know, try to get whatever you can in terms of money so that you can then take that money and invest it towards more important things. But just make sure you're selling your mammon and downsizing and purging down to just what you barely really need, okay? Over the last couple years, the Lord has had me get rid of pretty much all of my shoes, you know, of course I still have some shoes, but he had me get rid of all of my hangers, most of my books. I've been selling my like decor and things like that, jewelry. Okay, so if you haven't begun that process, do that now. Okay, but yeah, so let's get to the point where like, okay, you know, for whatever reason, whatever your specific circumstances, that you're going to be leaving your home, becoming homeless. Okay, so what do you want to keep out with you? I personally would like to advise you to keep out your own pillow, and I would advise you to get what's it called? Not just have your pillowcase, but go invest in what is it called? It's a special pillowcase that's supposed to keep out like the dust mites and all that kind of stuff. Like, go invest in that. But take your own pillow with you, because these pillows at these motels and hotels, one, like, do you really trust, like, you're going to be sleeping in these beds where God knows what happened, okay? But also, if you are allergic to stuff in general, a lot of these pillows, especially in the, like the in-town suites, and I think Motel 6, the pillows are like down, goose feathers and whatever, which makes me sneeze personally, okay? But also, you don't know when the last time they switched out these pillows. Okay, you're supposed to technically switch out your pillow, like replace it, I think, once every 3 years, because after a while, you know, between sweat and dead skin cells and whatever, it gets heavy with like dust mites and all this kind of stuff that can make you sneeze and everything. So I advise, bring your own pillow with you. When you're about to become homeless, keep your pillow with you, okay? Some people even keep their own set of sheets out. I've seen that, their own blankets, whatever, okay? Pray about it. That's between you and God, and, you know. But if you're going to be putting your stuff in storage, my advice to you is this. When you roll up the door of your storage unit, okay, you want to be able to have access to whatever you may need right there without having to move anything, without having to crawl or climb or dig or whatever, right? So whatever you're going to need, if you have a filing cabinet that has like your important documents, like your birth certificate and things like that, something that you may need, if, you know, in terms of like getting food stamps or whatever the case may be, to renew your car registration, you know, the title of your car, like whatever, then put that front facing right when you open the door of your storage unit, okay? I hired these guys off Craigslist, which is what I always end up having to do because I'm by myself, and I told these guys to do that, and they didn't listen to me. And so I still have to move things around here and there in my storage unit. But you want to have like your clothes front facing, your filing cabinet front facing, whatever you may need access to. Now, also regarding storage units, in general, they don't allow you to have food, water, gasoline, any kind of fuel, basically. So don't tell them. Do not inform them, and make sure that you're kind of hiding that when you're putting it in your storage unit. If you have preps like I do and you're going to put them into a storage unit, try to put them like kind of hidden, but also if you're going to need access to them, make sure that you have access to them. So that may sound kind of contradictory, but I mean, you could take like a sheet or a blanket and even just throw that over it or whatever. Honestly, I haven't even done that with mine, but because my storage unit is indoor and there's really nobody really ever there when I'm there. So, but you want to have anything that you may possibly need access to, you want to have that front facing right when you open the door of your storage unit, so that you don't have to move anything. It's not a hassle, because becoming homeless is very demoralizing. It's very draining, and so don't be surprised if it gets to the point where like you just don't have the energy or the motivation. You feel very fatigued and depressed, and you really don't feel like digging through your storage unit or whatever, okay? Just make sure that you have things easy for quick access. You open the storage unit door and it's right there to get whatever you need. Documents, clothes, if there's food there that you may want to access at a later date. Um, but yeah, before you even get to that point, try to downsize so that whatever you're putting in your storage unit is only stuff that you really need. And the Lord may redefine that as time goes on. You know, what do you really need? Okay. What else? So when you're living like this in motels and hotels, I advise to always have a container of like cleaning wipes with you. Okay, that's one of the things that I roundabout do every time I check into a place. I have this whole kind of like routine. I try to wipe everything down, including, so you know, they have these units for heating and air conditioning. They are never cleaned. I guarantee you they have mold, mildew in them, which is just bad for your health in general, for everyone, but especially if you have allergies. And so you want to try to like wipe that down as best you can so that when you turn it on, it's not blowing, well, it's still going to blow some of the stuff into the air, but at least it'll be blowing less of it. And I mean, just, you know, these places are yucky, you know, who God knows who stayed here and who had what on their fingers and whatever. So I like to personally wipe down like the doorknobs and the tables and whatever, you know. Make sure you have whatever you're going to need for survival, okay? So in our day and age, you know, the internet is important. So if you have a computer or a laptop or whatever. Now, I still have my desktop. I have not been blessed yet with a new laptop or the money to get one or whatever. And so I have to lug the tower around and all of that. So right now, if you have the means, pray about it, pray about everything, but ask the Lord if he wants you to maybe switch from a desktop to a laptop. If you have a desktop right now, you know, that would be a good investment, because it's just a lot more convenient. It's a lot easier. I've always avoided them because I didn't like them, but now I'm learning, like, I wish I had one now. For you know, the last 16 months, give or take, I've been living like a vagabond, and it would be a lot easier in terms of loading and unloading my car. Every time I move from place to place, it would be a lot less stuff to, you know, taking up space in my car. That's something else to think about as well, is your automobile, if you have one. You know, if you know that you're about to become homeless, go and clean your car. Go and clean your automobile. Like, detail it as best you can, because when you're moving around all the time and whatever, it's going to get dirty very quickly, especially if you have any pets with you. So make sure that you clean that as best you can. Get that ready. Make sure your automobile is in best condition as possible. You know, make sure you've got, you know, your oil changed, tires, whatever work you need to get done. If you can afford to get it done, get it done. Get that vehicle in as best tip-top shape as possible. But yeah, start thinking about, okay, what can I actually fit in the car with me and whoever else is going to be with you? People, children, pets, okay? What can you actually physically fit into your vehicle in case it gets to the point where you have to live out of it? But also just keep in mind that you may be moving around, okay? And keep in mind that you're going to be loading and unloading things out of this automobile all the time, okay? And so, like, I have a specific, I don't know what to call it. Like, I have specific places in my car where everything goes every time I load and unload, right? So, like, I've got, like, my hamper, which, yes, I can put dirty clothes in it, but I also put stuff in it sometimes, too, for space consolidation. That goes behind my seat because I sit close to the driver wheel. My cat's litter box goes in the back seat on the passenger side. My computer goes between the passenger seat and the back seat. Like, I have specific places. I know, like, organization is very, very important because it'll help. When you're living like this, it's very psychologically draining. It's very emotionally draining, and it's also very spiritually draining. And it can be physically draining. It's just draining, period, on all levels, okay? And so you want to be as organized as possible and just try to preemptively, prudence, right? Prudence is something that the Lord speaks about in his word in the book of Proverbs quite a bit, okay? Prudence is when you're thinking ahead, right? You're planning ahead. You want to try to preemptively cut out any possible aggravation, any possible source of aggravation that you can ahead of time, because trust me, Satan will send you aggravation. And I'm going to get into that too. But try to plan all this out ahead of time, okay? Where are you going to fit things in your automobile? You know, like my cat, she always goes in the passenger seat next to me. You know, my bags that have my clothes, they go on the back seat behind me. In the trunk is where I keep, like, my supplements, any food that I may have with me, cat food, whatever. I have specific places, and every time I load and unload my car, it's roundabout where it goes, right? Now, a lot of these places, well, okay. Some of these places, depending on where you're staying, actually, let's not go there yet. Let's talk about choosing where you're going to go, okay? So you want to go and review the reviews, okay? And yeah, there's Yelp and things like that, but I would say predominantly people use Google reviews, and so that's what I would look at. That's predominantly where I've been leaving my reviews. Just recently I kind of remembered about Yelp, but you want to go into the reviews and you want to sort the reviews. Sort them by most recent and go back at least 6 months. And you also want to sort by the lowest reviews so that you can see, okay? And people such as myself who are homeless and living like this, we know what to put in the review for other people. So off the bat, when I put a review for a motel or hotel, off the bat, I will put in caps, bed bugs, roaches, or no bugs, right? So you want to look for that. Oh, so yeah, so let's circle back around to the bugs. Okay, so the places, I mean, it really does depend on a case-by-case basis, but I have seen roaches in the in-town suites. I have seen roaches, where else? In a Motel 6, Studio 6. And the two places that I've seen bed bugs is Super 8 and Days Inn, particularly. Okay, so that's something else, okay? When you first check in, before you unload anything, before you bring in your pets, your family, look at the bed, okay? Lift up the mattress if you can, look underneath it, look behind it, okay? And just kind of just scan the room to see if there's roaches, see if there's bed bugs. Now the roaches, you can't always tell. You may be checked in and unloaded and settled before the roaches show up. You can't really help that, and that's why it's important to read the reviews. But the bed bugs, you should be able to see, hopefully. Not necessarily, because they can hide anywhere, and that's the other thing. Okay, so a lot of these places, they'll put like multiple sheets on these mattresses, so like you don't know what layer these bed bugs could be hiding in, because there could be multiple sheets. So just do your best to read the reviews and look before you really get settled into the room. Now, if you do discover, like after you get settled in, if you do discover that there's roaches or bed bugs, well, I mean, that's between you and God, how you're going to handle that. And depending on what city you're in, what geographical area you're in, you may not be able to find anything better unless you're willing to spend more money. When I first began living like this, I was... how do I put this? I was trusting God, but I was not confident that God would provide, and so I was really trying to go as cheap as possible. But after a while, I learned that, okay, I'm in full-time ministry. this is the Lord's will for me, at least until until a man comes into alignment to be my kingdom husband, and even then we may still be living like this. I don't know, but the Lord has been providing, and as the Lord showed me that and proved Himself to me that I can trust Him, that He'll provide and all that. Because let me just say, okay, let's just be real, okay? We all claim that we have faith, but when you're really tested, that's when you really find out where your faith really is at, okay? But once the Lord built my confidence, I began to discuss this with Him of, Lord, do you want me trying to stay in these places that are cheap, that, have roaches and bed bugs? And He said no. So now what I do is I try to find the cheapest place in the area, and then I look at the reviews, and if there's bugs, then I go to the next place up in price. And that's how I do that, okay? And that's what I advise for you. The bed bug, now roaches are tolerable depending on how bad it is, how many of them there are, etc. And I said this in the last video, if you see roaches and bed bugs, you definitely want to keep all your stuff zipped closed so that the bugs are not getting into your bags and so forth, okay? But roaches are just more so just kind of gross. It's just the creepy crawly factor, right? I mean, I'm sure that they carry germs and whatever, but it's more so the bed bugs, okay? The bed bugs bite, okay? And I have seen on the internet that technically bed bugs could even carry disease and this, that, and the other. And so like the bed bugs are the real concern. So it's really, really, really important to go read the reviews and just see, okay, have other people said that there was bed bugs there? If there was, don't go there, period. Unless like God specifically tells you to go there anyway, don't go there. But yeah, I have noticed, I think I've stayed at 2 different Super 8s that had bed bugs. And the 1 days in I stayed at had bed bugs. And let me just say that I tried putting baking soda, because I just happened to have that with me, and it did not work regarding the bed bugs. What else to cover? We're at 37 minutes. So you want to keep cleaning wipes with you. What's the other thing that I bring with me? My own pillow, cleaning wipes. Oh, so a lot of these places, so like they'll give you, the stupid little thing of like shampoo, conditioner, and they'll give you a little bar soap. You want to have like your own toiletries with you. And you may even want to bring your own towels. Now, when you go to In-Town Suites, if you go there, they give you 2 towels, 2 washcloths, and 1 bath mat, and that's yours to keep. When you leave, you take that with you. They don't give you any more, and they don't wash the towels for you. That's your responsibility while you're staying there to wash your own towels and whatever, okay? I think it's like 2 towels like per person or something like that. Now, I forget if I still have those with me, if I put them in the storage unit. But so yeah, you may want to have your own towels, because some of these places are very, how do I want to put this? Very strict in their rules. So you'll find that Motel 6s and Studio 6s have these rules, but not all of them follow them to the T, and some of them really, really do. So now, on average, I use about a roll of toilet paper a day, like on average, just to like play it safe, right? Which I know people are going to be like, oh, that's a lot, whatever, but whatever, right? So, for example, like where I'm staying right here, they have like 2 dispensers of toilet paper, and so they start you off with that. Now, when I check in, and I'm going to be here for a week, I like to go to the front desk after I get settled and everything, and then say, okay, I'm going to be here for a week. I would like to get all the towels that I need and all the toilet paper that I need. Now, pretty much everywhere, generally, nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to give you, 7 towels, 7 rolls of toilet paper. In general, they only want to give you 1 or 2 at a time. And so it's a real pain in the butt that you have to keep going and asking. And so like here with the Motel 6, their rules, their policy is that like you trade in your dirty towel and they'll give you a clean towel. And I guess pretty much you're only allowed to get like 1 roll of toilet paper like a day or every day or two or something like that, because like if you ask for more, they're like, well, too bad, like you're only getting 1 or 2 rolls at a time. So like you could book a week and like that's it. Like you have to keep going and asking them. Now they also have housekeeping. Now if you're staying at a nicer place where you can put up a do not disturb sign, they won't bother you. But most of these places like Motel 6 don't have that. There is no do not disturb sign. And so they're used to like real scumbags being here who destroy the rooms, who do drugs, etc. And so really it's not about housekeeping coming into your room for the sake of housekeeping. It's more about them inspecting. It's more about them keeping an eye on you, which is very intrusive. So like for example, yesterday I went up to the front desk to see if I could deal with a different person, which this guy was now the owner from the, because the other guy when I checked in, he was the like night guy. So I figured, okay, let me go during the daytime and talk to a different staff person to see if I can get toilet paper or towels. And I'm pretty sure that this guy is the owner. And he gives me a hard time. And so like I come in here, I sat down and began to record a video, and like 5 minutes into my video, I get a knock on the door. Oh, housekeeping. And the lady tells me, oh, well, he just told me to check your room. So he's suspicious of me because I simply said that I would like to get my towels and toilet paper ahead of time and that I don't want housekeeping. So because I specifically said all that, he goes and sends housekeeping to come check on me and inspect my room. So this is the kind of like intrusiveness regarding your privacy and your time and all that. Now, housekeeping staff can be a little bit more nicer than the front desk staff because sometimes they'll let you get away with stuff. So like she came in here, she saw that I have a cat here, and she was like, well, I'm not going to say anything if you don't say anything, you know. And I said, look, when I checked in, he asked me if I had other adults, and he asked me if I had any children. He did not ask me if I had any pets. So if he asked me, I would have answered him because I'm not going to lie, but he didn't ask me, so I'm not going to volunteer that information. She was like, well, okay, that's fine with me, you know, whatever. So like there is wisdom, you know, of, you know, just be nice to people and all that, but the housekeeping people can be a little bit nicer and kind of keep your secrets if you're hiding a pet or something than the front desk. They're not supposed to be charging pet fees. That's like what they're known for here. So anyway, I digress. The mattresses can be kind of nasty. The one Motel 6 that I stayed at in like Chattanooga, they had like plastic around it, and like part of it was torn. And so I asked the front desk guy, I said, I don't know what's up with the plastic, but like, and he said, oh, that's to keep the bugs out or whatever. I'm like, oh, that's comforting. That's great. You know, what else? I think I've gone over this before in different videos, but like, okay, so if you're going to be, you know, having food stamps is great if you have food stamps, but that only goes so far when all you have is a microwave and a little fridge. Or even if you have like a smaller full-size fridge, all you have is a microwave and a toaster, if that, right? So like having food stamps really isn't all that great because you're going to just be microwaving food. So if you're going to be eating out, it's good to save like the little white bags, because this could be a plate basically. Like you could prepare food on this in the microwave, or like just now I was making myself a bagel with the toaster, so I was able to put the bagel on here and butter it, and so this way I'm not getting like stuff on the counter that I don't have to wipe up and everything. I can just crumple this up and throw it out. Or if you eat out and you take home leftovers, which most places have styrofoam, which is amazing to me. Like, didn't we learn back when we were kids in like the 80s and 90s, like you don't put styrofoam in the microwave, but yet all these places give you styrofoam to take your food home in. But anyway, what I'll do with that is like after I eat my leftovers, or even beforehand, I'll cut the top off so that I can put it in the microwave and have it fit and everything, but I will keep the top because that can then be a plate later on for preparing some other food, right? So be useful, be creative with what you have to use. Oh, right, so some of these places, depending on where you're at, may include a quote-unquote, you know, breakfast, free breakfast, which isn't free, obviously. You want to grab up as many eating utensils as you can, wherever you can. Even like in like Publix, if you're around somewhere that has Publix, they have utensils that you can just grab for free. Like always stock up on eating utensils, bags, things like that. And condiments, you know, like ketchup, salt, pepper, whatever, right? Even jelly. Like I've been grabbing the little like grape jam things. This way it's like, you know, if it gets to the point where like starvation is an issue, I can at least eat some jelly or something, you know, like I got something, right? Regarding the places that serve breakfast, so like the place I was staying at in South Georgia, if breakfast ended at like 9:30, they would start packing it up at like 9:15. So be aware of that you can't wait till like when they say breakfast ends, because they'll be packing stuff up already before that. So just be aware of that, be mindful of that. Also, like the like juice machines, they will turn them off. Like you think maybe you can slip down there later on after breakfast and get some juice or something. No, they turn those off. So just be aware, if you want to stock up on some juice, like make sure you take a cup of juice with you back to your room. What else? And just in general, you know, it's good also, and this is something else I've been touching on for the last couple years, get your body healthy, okay? Like most people don't realize that sugar is a poison to your body. It really, really is. And just eating like junk food, eating sugar can give you a fatty liver, and that affects not just your liver, but your gallbladder, your pancreas, your spleen. It affects like your stomach in terms of like acid reflux. It affects everything. Get healthy, cut out the sugar, cut out the junk. Ask the Lord what He wants you eating and not eating and all that, because it's going to behoove you to get to the point where you're, in a sense, kind of doing like intermittent fasting. Like you only really need to eat 1 or 2 meals a day. And I'm not saying like you can't have snacks or whatever. I mean, that's between you and God. Although apparently that is like the ideal way to go, is just to have 1 or 2 meals a day with no snacks. But like, you know, just stock up on whatever you can. But yeah, try to get to the point where like you only really need to eat 1 or 2 meals a day. This way, when you're living like this, you're not hungry all the time. Because that's the other thing. When you eat sugar, that makes you hungry all the time. And when you eat frequently, that makes you hungry all the time. Okay? So, try to train your body, condition your body to get to the point where like, you know, you're not hungry all the time, because then it's not such an issue as to what you're going to eat, where you're going to eat, etc. Okay? And what I've been learning is just like, it's so funny now. Like I've been to so many different places, and like I know exactly where I'm going to eat and not eat in terms of going out to eat, because I know, you know, what I like and what's affordable and, you know, whatever. And I read the reviews for that as well, you know, like some places, like there was a place in South Georgia, I was going to go try them, and like I went in the reviews and someone said that they had like a roach crawl out of their salad or something. Like, you got to pay attention to everything. What else, Holy Spirit? What else is useful for people? Just make sure you're taking care of yourself, you know, make sure you're getting all the nutrients and everything that you need. Something I learned recently is that, like my whole life, I've had this propensity to feel chilly or cold, and I've learned that that's an iodine deficiency. And so I just ordered Dr. Berg's kale pills, so I'm going to be taking those soon. But like I make sure I take like a multivitamin that God told me to take, you know, because some of them are just fillers. You know, I'm taking probiotics. You know, take care of your body, okay? Because that affects your body. It can affect your soul, you know, like how you feel, you know, psychologically and all that. It's good to have like little bags. So you can get you can get like little bags for carrying stuff, like just, you know, in terms of like moving around all the time and moving things in and out of your car or whatever. You can get little bags from like the dollar store, things like that. But yeah, make sure you definitely have like your own toiletries, your own pillow. Oh, right. So like hand soap. That's what I was going to get at. So all they give you in these places is like a little bar of soap. That's it. So in terms of like hand soap, God told me to stop buying specifically hand soap, and he told me just to get like the antibacterial dish soap from like the dollar store. And so that's what I use for like washing my hands. Or if I occasionally am gonna wash something like my cat's food bowls, like I'll wash those. So I have like my own little sponge that I keep with me. Oh yes. So the bathtubs in these places and showers. Okay, so not all the places have a bathtub. First of all, and even if they do, they may not have a plug so that you can take a bath. Be aware of that. But fungus, let's talk about fungus. Oh my goodness. Okay. People, I mean, like this is an issue, even if you're like renting a room in a house somewhere, like fungus is everywhere, and fungus and mold is everywhere. And like most people are oblivious to it, oblivious. You will see black mold in a lot of these showers. So be prepared for that. That means you're breathing it in. Yeah, it's bad for your lungs. And black mold can kill you. But let's talk about the floors and the bathtubs and the showers, okay? Foot fungus. So many people have foot fungus, and they walk around in these places barefoot. So that's a tip I can give you. Do not walk around barefoot in these places, in these motels and hotels. Do not walk around barefoot. Make sure you have a pair of flip-flops or slippers or something to walk around in. Do not walk around barefoot, okay? Because you could pick up fungus like that. And if you have pets, they're probably going to pick it up. And how they will, how it will manifest on them is you'll see them chewing and biting their paws quite a bit, but also I can tell you from my cat anyway, that her face, she'll get little boo-boos that'll just like break out. And even her eyes will get a little pink or whatever. And so if you're looking for a natural remedy, you can get chlorophyll that has like a, where the lid has like a built-in, what do you call that? Like a squirt, not a syringe, but like a squirt thing. So you can squirt chlorophyll down their throat. So God has told me to give her chlorophyll anywhere between 3 and 4 hours, like every 3 to 4 hours to give her chlorophyll. And it's gotten to the point now where we've been doing this for so long. So recently God told me to give her like a double dose because we're trying to like really conquer this. But like I'm sure she keeps picking it up everywhere we go. We had just finally gotten rid of it, and then I went to this Airbnb. That's another thing to talk about. Let's talk about Airbnbs. We went to this Airbnb, and she picked it up again. It was so annoying. So you can give them chlorophyll. You can squirt chlorophyll down their throat, and you can also order turmeric pills. That's a little bit more difficult to kind of shove down their throat for them to swallow, but those are the two like natural remedies that God has led me to. But like it's difficult when you keep moving around. If they keep re-picking it up, you have to keep giving it to them, and that's what I've had to do with her. But one of the ways that you can possibly tell if you yourself have picked up fungus, like foot fungus or whatever on the floor, is if all of a sudden your feet are itchy. Okay, so what I keep with me is a thing of soft scrub with bleach, and you have to shake it up beforehand to make sure that all the chemicals, all the stuff inside is mixed up, because sometimes it'll kind of separate. So you shake it up first. I have a sponge specifically just for that, and before I even step foot to take a bath or a shower, I will scrub out the bathtub. And this is what I do everywhere I go. I scrub out the bathtub, because you don't know if people had foot fungus. You don't know if a woman took a bath in that bathtub that had a yeast infection. You don't know if a man was in there and his bodily fluid got somewhere. Catch my drift? Okay, like you don't know. Okay, so you want to clean everything before you get all up in there, right? This place that I'm at right now, there's rust in the freaking bathtub. And the Lord told me that's not safe for me to take a bath in. Months, almost a year ago now, I had my own like kettle that I brought with me. And I peeked inside and there was rust on the inside, and the Lord told me, get rid of it, throw it out. You don't want to be drinking anything that has rust in it, but you also don't want to be taking a bath in anything that has rust in it, especially as a woman. Okay, you don't want rust getting up in you know where. And so even though I'm probably going to be here for probably at least a month, is what I believe God told me, I can't take a bath because there's rust in the bathtub. And so I mentioned that to the housekeeper lady, and she told me, oh yeah, most of the bathtubs here have rust. I'm like, that's great. And they just bought this place out. This used to be a Days Inn. They bought it out, and instead of like fixing it up, flipping it before they opened it, and there's rust in the bathtubs, and the heater thing. Oh, that's the other thing. So these heating units, depending on where you are, some of them may make a really loud, obnoxious noise. So like this one here, it's like trying to sleep next to a jackhammer. It's so loud. It's ridiculous. So just be prepared. But yeah, you want to make sure that you're cleaning things. Don't trust that they clean things. I was staying at a nicer place, a more expensive place in South Georgia, and it was so gross. I didn't realize it for like a day or two, but the one sheet, there was like dried semen on the sheet. Yeah, even though it was like folded up all nice, right? And some of the places, they'll put this little like thing over the toilet to like indicate that it's clean. Don't trust that. So I make sure I wipe everything down before I put my butt in the toilet seat or step into the bathtub or any of that. So yeah, that's something you want to do, is make sure you have those like cleaning supplies. So I would have like some soft scrub with some bleach and a sponge just for that. Your cleaning wipes, and then like antibacterial like dish soap and like a sponge in case you need to like wash something, in terms of like your pet's food bowls, or if you're gonna have any dishes with you or anything like that. You know, at first I tried to have like my like dish rack and some dishes with me and everything, but it was too much of a hassle. It was just too much. And God told me, just put it in the storage unit. Don't even try. Now some people may spend money buying disposable utensils and like paper plates and all that. I wouldn't waste your money on that, because you can be more resourceful. Like I said, you know, you can grab this stuff for free, whether it's at the hotel itself or if you go into like your grocery store or something, or like a convenience store, you can grab this stuff for free. And yeah, you can just use like bags and stuff as like a plate and whatever. So like I personally don't waste money on that kind of stuff. Wow, it's been almost an hour. What else? I don't want to forget anything. I always forget stuff. Most of these places, they don't have recessed lighting. It's usually like lamps, and so just be prepared that the lighting isn't that great. Noise. Be prepared for noise, okay? You're going to hear all kinds of noise. People's car alarms go off in these parking lots all the time, especially at the extended stay places. That's like almost like a staple thing. Every extended stay place I've been at, you will hear car alarms going off. You'll hear people arguing and cussing and yelling. You'll hear people like right outside your door. So like be prepared for noise and lack of privacy. The walls are paper thin, so be prepared that like whatever you say, other people might be able to hear you. And you know, just keep in mind of like what also is important to you, like whether you have a vehicle or not, or if you're just trying to conserve gas. Like where I'm at right now, I can walk to McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts, and Papa John's without having to get in my car. You know, like just pay attention to things like that if that's relevant to you. And just look for like little hacks. So like, for example, I'm going to share a little McDonald's hack that I learned a couple months ago. So like, I like to just get egg and cheese sandwiches from either McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts, or if I'm in the area, Sheetz or whatever, right? And so I learned the cheapest is McDonald's. You order an egg and cheese biscuit, and then you ask them to substitute the egg for the round egg and substitute the biscuit for the muffin. And I think for like 2 sandwiches, it still only comes out to like 4 something, I think. So like, there's a little hack to save some money if you're going to be eating out. But the thing is, with McDonald's for breakfast, is you got to get there before breakfast is over at 10:30. And then like, there's like little apps, right? So like at Dunkin' Donuts, they have an app, and you just have them scan it when they ring you up. And yeah, it'll take like a long time, but like, you know, after a while you get like a free breakfast sandwich or something, you know. So like, little stuff like that, anything you can do to like, you know, save money, pay attention to things like that, take advantage of things like that, coupons, whatever, you know. Just kind of common sense stuff, you know. Oh, that's something else, okay? If you're going to be becoming homeless and you don't really have much data on your phone plan, that might be something worth investing in, is, you know, upping your phone plan to include more data, because you may not always have Wi-Fi, you know? And so, and if you're going to be living like this and you need to navigate, right? If you're going to be using some kind of navigation app that's going to use data, you'll need it for that. And you know, some of you may be called into ministry. You may be called to do like a YouTube channel or something or whatever, and so you're going to need data for that. Now, in terms of uploading videos, I really recommend that you have some kind of Wi-Fi, as opposed to using your own data plan for that. But oh, Wi-Fi, let's talk about that. So a lot of these places, the Wi-Fi is really, really choppy. So on your phone, it'll say that the Wi-Fi is connected, but it's really not. Or it'll like disconnect like every so often, and you have to like make sure that it's connected. So just be aware of that the Wi-Fi at these places can be finicky and choppy, or kind of just go in and out. And that's just how it is. I'm sure there's more stuff that I'm forgetting, but I just figured I would go over this in a more updated fashion. I'm sure some of it is repeat of what I said last time, but oh, okay, so if you are going to be living in your car, there's a few tips, because I actually tried that a couple times. Be aware. So like, I can specifically speak to Chattanooga. They are jerks, okay? They don't want you sleeping in your car anywhere. Like, okay, I'll share again. So I went to this park after hours, after dark. Like, the park like doesn't close, but like, it was pitch black dark. There was no one around. The only lights were like the little, you know, lights, the park lights, you know. There was no one around. I wasn't making noise. I wasn't, you know, putting garbage on the ground or anything like that. Sound asleep, and this cop comes and bothers me. Oh, you can't sleep here. Why? I'm not bothering anybody. I'm not, you know, I'm not. So then I went to this other place. I just found some like spot on the side of the road, and it turns out it was some parking lot for some school or something. 2 cops show up, and they told me that technically I could get arrested for vehicular trespassing, okay? And then one day, I was actually walking in more of like a downtown area of Chattanooga, and I saw what looked like it appeared to be them arresting some homeless man because he was just there on the sidewalk with his like pillow and sheet or whatever, and they just so be aware that being homeless, even in your car, or even trying to sleep in your car somewhere, you could get arrested. You could have cops bothering you. We're in the tribulation, and just don't take for granted that someone's going to necessarily have compassion on you. Hopefully, again, if you're abiding in Christ, you'll have God's favor, and they'll either leave you alone or they'll just give you a warning and tell you to move it on. But yeah, just be aware of that like you always have to have your guard up. You always have to be mindful of what is going on around you, and that somebody may come and bother you and try to make your life more difficult. Trying to think of what else. Like, just because you think that you found a safe spot doesn't mean that it is a safe spot. Like I said, that park, no one was there. I wasn't making noise. I wasn't making a mess. Minding my own business, just sleeping in my car. And at like, what was it, like 4 or 5 in the morning, this cop comes shining his brights, knocking on my window. You can't sleep here. Why? Like, I understand if you don't want me there when the park, like, quote unquote opens, like when people start showing up, but like, it's 4 or 5 in the morning, it's pitch black dark, it's the middle of the night. Why you have to be, you know? But they do. They bother people just for the sake of it. So just be aware of that. Trying to think of anything else. The water pressure in these places can often suck. Be aware of that. Ladies, feminine hygiene, okay? I personally have found in my life experience that when you have a detachable shower head, you are better able to clean certain parts of your body, okay? You're not going to have that in a motel hotel. There's no detachable shower heads. And so it's a lot more difficult to, you know, cleanse yourself. And so a bath is good to take more often, as long as there's no rust and whatever, and make sure you clean it. But even that isn't necessarily going to take care of things. And so you may occasionally need to go and purchase some douche. And really the tip that I want to give you is taking probiotics. There's a brand called Good Girl Probiotics. They sell it at Target. I think the actual brand is like Love Wellness or something like that. It's an aqua bottle. I've shown it on here before. Make sure you're taking that. Now, God has me taking literally 7 pills of this probiotic a day, and I don't know if that's just for just general health, or if it's also because like he has me trying to detox a bunch of stuff in my body right now as well, but he has me taking 7 of those a day. And it is a little pricey. I think they bumped it up to like $30 a bottle right now. But if you're a female, I would recommend that you make sure you're taking some probiotics to keep your flora and fauna balanced regarding feminine hygiene, okay? Not just in your gut, but in other areas, you know. Shower curtains. Be mindful, you know, you may want to ask for a fresh, clean shower curtain because they don't necessarily change the shower curtains, okay? And you can have male bodily fluids on the shower curtains, okay? Just be aware of that. Laundromat, okay? A lot of these places don't have any built-in laundry facilities, or if they do, they cost more money. Some places will take a debit card, other places it's coin. So be prepared that you may have to mess with coins. Until, of course, we get to the point where they take away our fiat money. Now, depending on where you are geographically, depends on what options you're going to have. But just be prepared that you may have to start dealing with quarters. Okay? I find that particularly to be a nuisance. I would rather just use my debit card. But there's been places, you know, where I've had to, you know, take out money from the ATM and then try to go get coins somewhere, blah, blah, blah. Something else that I've gotten in the habit of is, like, if I am going to go eat out at, like, McDonald's or something, when I go to pay through the drive-thru window, I'll open my door and I will scan the ground and I will pick up whatever coins I can. And then I'll go to, like, the dollar store or something and I'll switch out the coins for quarters so that I have quarters for laundry, okay? So you have to be resourceful. Think, okay? I'm sure there's more stuff that I'm just not thinking of, but we're over an hour now. So, I guess that's it for now. All right, I bless you all in the name of Yeshua the Christ of Nazareth.